Nice to hear from Rain Country. God is good all the time. And today, we just got in a new little piece of equipment, all stainless steel, at least this part here, the drum part. And yes, it's a chicken plucker. I've been looking for an excuse to buy one of these things just to have on hand. I had a real good excuse. A friend of mine, their family invited us to come over and process 25 chickens. And I think they had some ducks too that they're going to process, and they invited us along. And I thought to myself, you had to pluck chickens from daylight till dark when you were a kid, so I don't really want to pluck anymore by hand. I will if I have to, but it's no fun. And I can think of a lot better things to do with my time than plucking chickens. It's really important to know the old school ways of doing things. We try to be self-sufficient and think of ways to streamline our time. So automation comes into play when it comes to that too. So one of those things is to get a chicken plucker. If you're raising your own chickens, one of these are pretty handy, especially if you're doing a volume of birds. With 25 birds, there's going to be a couple of us families out there, so I didn't want to go out there and pluck chickens for the rest of the night. We're going to do it the new fashioned way. So with this, I'm making a cone. You turn the chicken upside down, you stick them in this cone, you dispatch them by cutting their heads off, and then all the blood can just drain off into a bucket. So that's what I'm really going to show you what I'm up to today. So let's go out front and show you what I got going on. So here we have a piece of flashing. This is some flashing left over from our roof, and it's been sitting in the shop getting dusty. What do you call these, chicken cones or processing cones, deheading cones, or something like that? I don't know. But anyways, I know what I'm making, I just don't know the name of it. I got this cut at probably a sharper angle than a 45-degree angle. Oh, roughly 45 degrees. And so I just took this 1.25 inch PVC pipe, and I put it in here, and then I started bending this around to where I had a good shape. I don't think there's any big rhyme or reason or perfect shape for these things. Just whatever you think a chicken's going to fit into it. This particular piece of tin is 12 inches wide, and I'm really not sure about the thickness of this. I don't have my calipers here to see how thick this metal is, but you can see it's fairly pliable. This is, like, again, this was metal we used on the roof. This is part of the flashing. So anyway, I just cut this at an angle, 45 degrees, so 45 would be fine. This angle was kind of already here, so I just kind of followed what was already on the metal. And so now what I'll do is I want to make this hole big enough to where a chicken or a duck head can actually go in through here easily. You could probably also do this out of aluminum flashing or galvanized flashing. So just going to hold this tight with a quick grip here. I'll bend this around, just marry up this corner, tighten that together, and that hole, it's probably plenty big. You just want the neck of the chicken, but you don't want it so tight that it's hard to get the chicken head through there either. So that is 2 3/4 by 3 1/2. I might tighten that up just a little bit. And I did this off camera, but I scribed the line in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back through and revisit that line. What that'll allow me to do is cut this just on the other side of the line with maybe 1 inch to spare, and then I'm going to start putting rivets in here, and we'll take you along for that ride too. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're not building rocket ships. So my buddy, I was teasing him a little bit, and I says, well, you get 3 guesses as to what I'm building here. If you pass the test, then you get I get to share my chicken plucker with you. And he said the first thing was a flux capacitor, and I said, strike 1. And the second thing he asked, he said it was a cone for a Tomahawk cruise missile, and I said, strike 2. And then he said a hearing magnifier, you know, those things that you stick up next to your ear so you can hear. Old-fashioned little amplifiers. And I said, nope, that's it. You get to skin all your own, pluck all your own chickens while I'll sit back and watch you. We're going to go ahead and try to, because he's so, willing to share his abundance with us, I thought I would try to help reciprocate by streamlining our time a little bit. So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut this. Well, the first mistake I just made was cutting on the line instead of cutting an inch over. So the cone is going to be a little bit smaller than what I anticipated to start with. I think that's okay. What I'll do is improvise by closing that gap a little bit when I go ahead and I'm going to rivet this together. So sometimes when I do these videos, I'm not thinking as well as I should. Go ahead and take this plastic off of here. Yeah, it's going to be a little narrower than what I was hoping, but that's going to work. I think that's going to work out just fine. Okay, now the next trick is to drill holes in here all the way down through and start putting this together with rivets. Before I get too carried away here, what I want to do is ensure that this hasn't got burrs on it in order to cut you. And you take a flat file and just run it along the edge there just a little bit. You don't want to sharpen it, but just enough to take any burrs that might be on the edge of the metal. One way to help not get burrs, when you're cutting this, you don't want to snip it all the way to the end. You just want to exercise your cutters all the way through there, and you won't get little dimples all the way down through the cut. Makes you a nice straight smooth edge on there. Whenever you finish and you snap all the way to the end, you see that little dimple that makes? There's another dimple. Well, to avoid that, I take and cut part of the way through and not go clear to the end, so you got a nice clean edge here. So that's one way, a little technique. And they do have left hand, right hand cutting tools, but I like this one here. It seems to work out the best for me. I'll be using 1/8 inch aluminum rivets on this. I'll be using 1/8 inch Clecos to hold everything in place while I'm piloting these holes in. Alright, so we're going to be drilling some 1/8 inch holes. So what these Clecos do is they hold these two metals together. So when I continue my hole drilling, now this holds that in place. And if I want to be uniform on my measurements, I can measure from the center of the Cleco on this way, like an inch, every inch all the way through here. And then it'll look a little more uniform. And then some of you might be asking, how come you just don't drill all the way up? It'd be a lot faster. And that's true, it would be faster. However, With this bulging out like that, your holes have a tendency to want to separate or move or be misaligned. So I'm trying to avoid that imperfection. You're still gonna have some puckering and whatnot, but this will kind of help minimize that. Oh, well, one thing I was wanting to show you is that I did find my calipers. So I'm going to zero that out. Show you what the thickness of this is, in case you're curious. 1/64 of an inch, 0.0175 inches, and in millimeters for all you guys in Canada and every place else in the world, 0.44 millimeters. Now, so what I'm doing now is I'm taking my 1/8 inch aluminum rivets, and what I've decided to do is insert it from this side. I don't know if I can go all the way up. I should be able to, and have the smooth end or the head on this side, so it's a lot smoother and easier to clean. Less parts for the chicken to get hung up on. And then I'll flatten it on this side. To flatten this off, I'm got a chunk of 1/2 inch steel plate here, and I'm just taking my body hammer and just flatten them off on the back side. Nothing pretty, but functional. I'm going to go ahead and remove just one cleco at a time. Yeah, it's a little awkward, but we made it work. So basically that's what we have for securing that back side. I can just massage this a little bit, straighten this back out a little bit, or make it a little more conical. So the more of these things you make, you start thinking of ways not to get creases in them. I don't think the chickens are going to care about how it looks. I don't think the processors are really going to care how it looks, just as long as it's effective. So these will be a couple of mounting holes to mount to a post or a wall. And in drilling those holes out, we made some burrs, so I'm going to deburr it. Okay, I would say that that is finished. So basically what you have is you have this, you can mount this to the wall, and your chicken will hang through there upside down, and the head will pop through here, and then you just cut the chicken's head off. And you have a 5-gallon bucket underneath that will catch any blood and anything that might come out into that 5-gallon bucket, and it makes it a lot cleaner. I think the chickens are probably a little more sedate when they're hung upside down and slipped in here, so hopefully it's not, you know, minimizes the stress and whatnot. So anyway, I hope that helps somebody out. If you got some old scrap metal laying around, this would make, this actually is a pretty sturdy funnel. So hope that helps you guys out. Thanks for stopping by. Take care and God bless.